Hello everyone, I'm Karen LeBlanc, co-host of Louisiana, the state we're in. The 2024 legislative session begins today at 1 p.m. as lawmakers get down to work on balancing the state budget while pushing for their own district priorities. LPB is bringing you live coverage of Governor Jeff Landry's first regular session since taking office on January 1st. This follows two special sessions, one focused on congressional redistricting and the most recent one on crime. I'm joined by my colleague and co-anchor, Kara St. Cyr, who is live at the state capitol. And Kara, this is an important legislative session that really sets the tone of Landry's administration. What is the mood right now as lawmakers gather and embark on this 3-month regular lawmaking session?
Karen, lawmakers are exhausted. Like you said, this is the third session of the year, and that means lawmakers have been working overtime to first fix that congressional map, and then afterwards they moved into a special crime session, which did end 6 days early. But those 2 weeks ahead of a regular session are really crucial for lawmakers because that really gives them time to research, look into their bills, talk with their constituents, and that didn't happen this year. And keep in mind, there are more than 1,000 bills that have been filed so far, and some that still haven't made it to file yet, but we could see them pop up later in the session. I spoke with Representative Mandy Landry, and she said that the time in between all of those special sessions and this regular session was a really tight turnaround. But still, some lawmakers are excited. They're here. They're ready to get started.
Well, we're hearing that the governor is making his way in. There is a prayer underway. Can you tell us what's happening?
All right, so yes, there is a prayer underway. We can see the governor. He did just walk in. They've closed the door, so the prayer is starting, and right after that prayer, he'll get into his speech and his opening remarks, and we'll hear more about what the agenda items will be for this legislative session.
Okay, well, while that prayer is taking place, we do have a little bit more time. I'd like to hear what you're hearing from lawmakers in terms of this loaded agenda. In addition to crafting the state's budget, you know, one of the big things they're going to have to deal with is a budgetary shortfall for next fiscal year when that half-penny sales tax rolls off the books. How is that shaping the debate?
All right, so this is definitely going to be a point of contention this year, as the budgets usually always are. Now, keep in mind, this year is not a fiscal session, but lawmakers are trying to be proactive because that 0.45 sales tax will roll off.
Okay.
And what that's going to do is leave about a $500 million deficit that lawmakers are going to have to fill.
All right, Kara, well, we are going to go now to the chamber as the governor begins his address to lawmakers, outlining his policy priorities for this legislative session.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the House and Senate, thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you for your friendship and your honest debate as we continue the dedicated path on improving our beloved state. I want to once again thank you on behalf of the citizens of this state for the commitment to public safety and the success we had just a few weeks ago making our state safe. You absolutely deserve to give yourself a round of applause, and the great people of this state believe you've earned it. Now, while we're off to a good start, know that those horrific crime statistics won't disappear overnight. But you have proven to America that no state is more committed to making communities safe than you all. So again, I really, truly thank you. Now, while Louisiana ranks 50th in crime, we are among the worst in education, 46 in education. And we won't fix crime if we don't fix our schools. Louisiana is failing our students, and the statistics could not be more alarming. 70% of our fourth graders can't read, and 80% of eighth graders can't do basic math. We all know that the foundation of a good education comes down to teaching the basics: reading, writing, and math. You know, like my son JT tells me, he said, what's the benefit to the student if he or she is not learning? That's the question a college student asks me about education. And that's a fundamental question that we should start with. That's a question that parents keep asking. Their frustration is boiling over. And it is what propelled many of you to this legislature. We cannot continue to be tone deaf to the moms and dads that are working 2 jobs to pay for a decent education for their child. They want to be free from the dangers of uncontrolled classrooms, free from the bureaucracy that prioritizes petty grievances above children in the classroom, and free from the indoctrination of the latest social radical cause. When we are done this session, let us send a loud and clear message that the parent is the most important voice in a child's education. Now, despite Louisiana spending more per student than Mississippi, than Florida, spending more than Texas, and even more than Alabama, our kids continue to fall behind. The need to transform the way Louisiana educates our children should be bold, and we should, just like we ask our kids, to dream big. Take, for example, Florida. 20 years ago, the state of Florida's system was no better than Louisiana's today. Last year, it was ranked #1 in education. How? They empowered parents. They challenged the system to do even better. And in one educational generation, they became the inspiration for all other states to follow. The steps we need to take are simple. 1, make all education lead to vocation. 2, put parents back in control and let the money follow the child. 3, treat our teachers with respect and reward them when their students are successful. Over the years, we've taken small steps towards finding solutions, and with us today are examples of how, when we change, our students can succeed. Because with us today are Kayla, Anna, Ashley, Camilla, Amanda, and Ortega. Where are you? Oh, there you go. Stand up. There you go. Y'all remain standing for just a second. Kayla and Anya, raise your hand so they can see. There you go. Kayla and Anya attend a charter school. They will graduate not only with a high school diploma, but also an associate degree. An associate's degree that is in line with the high demand and high earning occupations that this state needs. They have been educated for success because their charter school allowed them the flexibility so that their education will lead them to a vocation. Now, Ashley, Camilla, Amanda, Ortega, y'all raise your hands. There you go. Okay. Despite living in an underserved minority community, they attend Gardere Community Christian School. They are an example that proves that school choice works. Gardere has test scores. Their school, their charter school, has test scores 300% higher than the closest schools in their area. Now, finally, we're going to recognize our 2023 Teacher of the Year, Miss Kylie Altier. Kylie? Where's Kylie? Kylie? Huh? Did she not make it? Oh, she's up there. Oh, there she is. They were supposed to put you down here, Kylie. Now, she is so brave, she's willing to come down here and help us identify how we can remove barriers like the government mandates that we place on our teachers that waste their time and take their focus off the classroom so that finally teachers can teach. Now, I know you believe in our kids, and we should trust their parents. But let's start matching our actions with those beliefs. Now, we all know too well the stories of those who leave this state for better opportunities. It has been memorialized in our statistics year after year. Every state in the South has accepted more people into their state than have left, except for one. Guess which one? Louisiana. Like me, you rose to public service because you were frustrated and tired of those stories. You were frustrated at the statistics that continue to place our beautiful and enchanting state at the bottom of every metric of quality. We ran campaigns out of sadness, anger, and frustration. Sad because we know the cost of seeing loved ones continue to leave our state, the most uniquely blessed and colorful state for other opportunities. Angry because we know we are better than the widely publicized statistics. And frustrated because we know the quality of our people, because we know the work ethic they possess. We know their values. We know their families. And we know our friends. What I have appreciated is your sense of urgency. All of our problems can be solved if we will have the will and the capacity to deliberate fairly and honestly and arrive at solutions that are in the best interests of our citizens and our future. Now, some may say we are going too fast, but that's precisely what you do when you're behind. In the new industrial South, America's best corporations are fleeing states where they're overtaxed, overregulated, and underappreciated. They are locating to friendlier states here in the South where people are eager to go to work each day and appreciate the opportunity of building a life for their family. As population growth continues in the South, this is our time. But we must act. We must act now to create a business-friendly atmosphere at this very pivotal moment in history. You know, U.S. News and World Report ranked Louisiana dead last in 2023, with our economy ranking 50th. Our occupational license structure is a prime example of how we've made working in Louisiana needlessly difficult. We rank 6th. We are the 6th worst state in occupational licensing, while we license 77 of 102 identified occupations. That's more than any other state in the country. And so I urge you to address universal occupational licensing reform and remove the barriers of employment in Louisiana. It will make people feel welcome when they come back home. Now, we're working to reorganize the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. The ideas we will discuss with you are not mine. These are not my ideas. They are the product of listening to those who have seen and felt the success of our southern neighbors. The Committee of 100 utilized their own private dollars to research and report to us what's working in other states. And that is what we will offer to you for debate and discussion. We can and we will be competitive with other states by eliminating the burdensome and ineffective regulations and by streamlining the economic development agencies so that it can be competitive. Never forget that our advantage is our people, the most beautiful, diversified, skilled, and energetic people on earth. They are too ready, willing, and able to do the hard work. Remember, as I said, hospitality may have been invented in the South, but it was perfected here in Louisiana. Let's showcase our people to this country. Let us focus on the businesses and industries that have built this state. Now, we are experiencing an insurance crisis. The results of back-to-back hurricanes that have decimated our southern coast. The storms have overwhelmed the insurance industry. The delay of getting claims fairly and thoroughly through the process has led to an unprecedented number of lawsuits that now clog our state and our federal courts. Many insurance companies have now left us. Those companies still writing insurance have raised rates to cover those losses. Many homeowners and businesses cannot acquire the insurance in the current environment, leading to mortgage disqualifications, the threat of losing one's home, business relocations, or even business failures. Now, our new insurance commissioner, Tim Temple, is working tirelessly to find solutions that make Louisiana attractive to the insurance market so that more companies will come here and write here. He believes, and I agree with him, that the deregulatory measures he is undertaking will improve the market conditions. There are several additional ideas and proposals before you this session to address this insurance crisis. I would urge you to listen carefully to these debates, read the bills, and arrive at solutions that are fair to the consumer and will work for the companies that we need to attract here so that they can insure our people. Now, while we continue the task of transitioning, each cabinet member has been instructed to report to Commissioner Barra on operational status of their departments, along with recommendations and efficiencies at every level. Their work includes looking for savings and innovations, a much needed exercise as we put a new focus on respecting our citizens' tax dollars. Though we didn't have access to the books till January. We have worked hard to craft a budget that right-sizes our state's finances. Over the last year, federal spending during the pandemic has basically caused state budgets to become bloated and generated one-time tax revenue to their coffers. We need to be honest with where we are and what we have been through financially. Remember, government taxes the hard work and the sweat of our people, and we should be mindful of the sacrifices they make to fund this government. We believe the proposed budget is a blueprint for you to use, restoring common sense and necessary conservative money management. Recognizing this, we are cautiously optimistic, proceeding in a way that this coming fiscal year, we will work so that we're not reliant on further pandemic funds that come from the federal treasury. A possible $500 million shortage is forecasted for 2025, according to your budget committee's 5-year baseline projection. This forecast is a consequence of our economy, the phase out of federal funds, and the temporary sales tax, and our projected spending needs. As a result, our budgetary work we present to you, a budget that spends $3 billion less than the state did last year. I ask you to work with me to develop innovative ways to empower our agency heads and all state employees to identify efficiencies and cost savings in our ongoing operations. You know, some of those savings might well be used on more important and immediate priorities without increasing the base spending and be available in future years to cope with potential shortfalls. We shall continue to work within the constitutional restraints to budget responsibly. Now, speaking of the Constitution and constitutional parameters, it is time for us to open the dialogue about reforming our bloated and outdated and antiquated and much abused state constitution. I appreciate that. I figured y'all wouldn't applause for the budget. That was pretty boring. But according to the Council of State Governments, Louisiana ranks among the longest of all state constitutions, having 72,000 words in it. In less than 50 years, the legislature has proposed over 300 amendments, of which 210 have been incorporated into the 1974 Constitution. That's 6 per year proposed and 4 per year incorporated. By that comparison, the state of Massachusetts still uses its original Constitution, and over 244 years has only been amended 120 times. Something is definitely wrong. Now, when I was a student working in this capital, I met a legendary man named Camille Gravel. I know some of you might remember him. Francis remembers him. Of course, Francis remembers Abraham Lincoln. Mr. Gravel was one of the greatest legal minds in Louisiana's history. Wouldn't you agree, Francis? He had advised every governor from 1940 until his death in 2005. No person had more influence than ours in writing our current Constitution than Mr. Gravel. Astoundingly, Mr. Gravel could recite the entire state constitution. Now, a friend of mine who was very close to him relayed a story to me one day. He said that when they were staying together in New Orleans in 1983, while Mr. Gravel was trying a case there, he and Mr. Gravel every afternoon would get their daily exercise by walking from Mr. Gravel's apartment on St. Charles Avenue down to Audubon Park. Now, my friend would walk with him. And one day, my friend asked him if he could really recite the Louisiana Constitution. Before they had reached Audubon Park, Mr. Gravel had recited it word for word, including the 15 amendments that it had at that time. I would never forget that story because I think about it every time we talk about reforming the Constitution. Today, Mr. Gravel would have to walk from here to Lafayette to recite it. Every year, the people of Louisiana rarely lose valuable time and money when they are asked to yet vote on another amendment to our state constitution. We ask them to act like lawmakers. We ask them to study and then to vote on ridiculously long and complicated ballots. Again, we ask our people to act as the legal scholars and analyze complicated and arcane legal propositions. I, for one, do not believe that this is a fair request of our citizens and our voters. These are decisions that they elect you to handle in order to best serve the interests of your constituents. This body needs more flexibility to address and correct the state's problems. Our current system of constitutional protectionism simply does not allow you, the legislature, to implement the needed change, which often leaves solutions coming far too late. We can do better. We must do better. We will do better. So let's rise to that challenge. Let's create a constitution that is streamlined and emblematic of the core principles that define who we are as a people. A people with the inclination, the will, and the capacity to send their very best and brightest to this Capitol each year to write the laws needed and to manage the state's business affairs. Those great people need a legislature that is unshackled from micromanaging edicts inserted by special interests that held sway at random and obsolete moments in our time. Let us clean up the Constitution and place matters in their appropriate statutory context. I believe a new, uncomplicated Constitution reflective of our own great nations is a bold but much needed step towards making our state great. We are working hard, and we are working with much conscientious speed as we possibly can to make this state better. It has been amazing to me. As governor, I have the burden of prioritizing problems and addressing them as quickly and as effectively as possible. Now, admittedly, I want you to know, I may not always get it right. We're not going to make the same mistake twice, though. I ask you to remove from us the shackles. When I'm back at the beginning of this year, I ask you to remove the shackles of a federal judge to rectify a congressional redistricting map for obvious, time-sensitive reasons. And guess what? You rose to that occasion. You put party aside, and you solved a lingering political problem. We next asked you to prioritize the foremost issue concerning our citizens, and you courageously stepped up and demonstrated to the victims of crime across this state that their voice matters. Today, new problems and concerns move to the forefront, demanding attention and action. I intend to work hard with you this session because your concerns are my concerns. Your priorities are my priorities. Your constituents are my constituents. That's why our administration is open to you day and night. Together, I firmly believe we can improve our educational system. We can develop and redevelop our economy. We can lower our crime. We can safeguard our environment and bring meaningful and everlasting improvements to this beautiful state. Let's run a government that now works for, not against the people of our great state. God bless you. Thank you. God bless Louisiana and our great citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Members, I'd also like to recognize a late entry Agriculture Commissioner Mike Strain that showed up. Senator Barrow moves that the Senate retire to its chambers without objection. Thank you, members.
And you just heard live Governor Jeff Landry as he opened the 2024 legislative session, outlining his policy priorities. We also have my co-anchor, Kara St. Cyr, live at the state capitol, who's following the action. But just to kind of recap what Governor Landry has outlined, a couple of topics. You know, we haven't heard much in terms of his policy details. Governor Landry did not debate publicly. And so for the first time, we're all getting a granular look. Some of the things that he pointed out: insurance reform that he intends to tackle, education, stating that he wants to give more power to parents to determine their children's educational future. He also talked about streamlining the state constitution. That is going to be a big one. That drew a lot of enthusiastic applause from lawmakers. The governor stating that the current constitution has become quite unwieldy, and he intends to streamline that as well. So the governor has outlined a very packed agenda. Lawmakers, of course, their primary priority is to balance the state budget. The governor did acknowledge that as they look towards balancing the state budget, they are going to have to consider the roll-off of that half-cent sales tax for next fiscal year. And some of that debate will center on how to make compensation for that loss of revenue. So lots of policy changes. It'll be interesting to see. We've heard that, of course, we know this is a Republican supermajority. And the lawmakers feel that they have received a mandate from voters to move the state in a more conservative direction in all areas. And, of course, conservative in terms of spending, too. The governor stated in his speech that he is asking all department heads to report back with areas that they can identify for cost savings so that there is some belt tightening and, quote unquote, more responsible spending of taxpayer dollars. So we have joining me now live from the state capitol, my co-host, co-anchor of Louisiana the State We're In, Kara St. Cyr. Kara, what is your takeaway on the governor's comments and lawmakers' reactions?
All right, so the budget is definitely going to be a huge priority. You can see some of the lawmakers are filing in right behind me, so it is going to get a bit loud in here. But the budget seems like it's going to be the main priority. He said in that speech that, this is caused by three different things, and I'm going to read them here. The economy, a phasing out of federal funds, and also a rollback of that sales tax. But his plan is to spend less money. And now I did speak with Representative McFarland, and he said that there are a couple options that the legislature could take when it comes to tackling that $500 million deficit that we're expecting, and that is, of course, they could extend the sales tax, they could make some budget cuts, or they could find alternative sources of revenue. Now, he did say to a newspaper this week that he was hoping that the state didn't ask for any more money, but this is significant because we just ended a special crime session, and that's expected to cost the state more money, but we don't exactly know how much that price tag will be at this time. So, yeah, the budget is definitely going to be a big issue, but he also mentioned other things like education and our Constitution. He mentioned how our Constitution, and he said it was the longest Constitution in the nation. It had 72,000 words, but it's also been amended over 210 times, and that there have been proposals to amend it about 300 times. But he compared our Constitution to one that's in Massachusetts, and he says that this Constitution has only been amended about 120. So we're due for an update to our Louisiana state Constitution because it hasn't been touched since 1974. So there are a lot of different issues that we'll be focusing on this session.
All right, thank you so much, Kara. Definitely we expect the state constitution to dominate a lot of the debate. We will, of course, be tracking everything coming out of the 2024 legislative session, providing you in-depth analysis and report on Louisiana, the state we're in, airing every Friday at 7 p.m. I want to thank all of you for joining us here for our live coverage here at the 2024 legislative session. We are now going to resume our regular programming.